Hey, how's it going? Hey, welcome back. How's it going? That's right. It's time for the weekly dev diary. This week, the things that I've been working on, not a whole lot, as you know, if you have tuned in before, or if it's just me tuning in again, as I know. Um, I am moving across country, which means that I am very, very busy doing things not involved in programming or game development, which means I don't have a lot of time to sit at my computer and do stuff since I'm humping boxes and putting things in boxes. One of the things I did, change the font up. I think this font's a little bit better, and this is a little bit too cursive-y. Makes it a little bit too difficult to read. But the other font was just ugly, so I'm glad to have switched that up. I have now a history put in. And basically put notes. I haven't set up any save system yet, so none of this stuff is saved, but when I do, all this stuff will be saved in. And having it so you can keep your own notes and type things back, I think that would just be handy to have. And other than that, that's pretty much it. I think the only other thing I really did... Oh, something's messed up. The only other thing I really did was I tried to get other locker hooked up so when you get to the end of that first little segment, it brings you over here to this spot so you can see that piece of paper and you get that first, like, hey, go find the other questionnaires. And then the automatic, I'm working on getting it because that's where one of the questionnaires is going to be found, as well as coins so that you can put them in the automatic and a thing drops out. So those are kind of the things I've been working on as I spin my wheels and try to figure out what is Q3, what is Q4, so I can put those in. I think this week, whether I have it figured out or not, I'm going to try to just get scenes in and hooked up, get the automatic working so you can get the questionnaire, and even if it's just like you get question mark item to fill in the slots, whatever. Just to get it to the point where the door opens and closes so I have the full loop and I can start polishing. Think about getting sound, redoing all the assets there actual look good and not like total butt. All that fun stuff. Then I also want to get it to that point and try to get a questionnaire in so I can get it in front of a playtester. Anybody really, to kind of start to get feedback on how does this feel to play, how does it feel to go through. I've gone through that loop, that first loop so many times, just fixing bugs and doing things. I click through, I don't think about it, autopilot, and that is not a good place if I want to be critical and looking at the details. So getting some feedback would be very helpful in that. But that is about where the game is. As you can tell, new background, no green screens because I'm out of my office and I am in an empty room that used to be our library. So, slightly different setup. But because I have been moving, it's given me some time to really kind of think about what it is specifically in the game that I've never made a video game. I am a creative professional. I make sculptures, ceramics, all that stuff. I've taught that kind of stuff. And when you make something, a work of art, making something like that, I'm always thinking about what am I trying to communicate? What am I trying to tell through this work? What am I expressing through? What is the purpose of it? What does that mean for me and what does that mean for the viewer? Like, what are they trying to get out of it? When I think about this project, it's still a creative project for me. So I'm thinking about it in the same way. What am I trying to say? What do I want the viewer to take away from it? What is the interaction that I have? What is this communication, this conversation I want to have with the players? And the main thing that I've come up with is, one, I want it to be a puzzle game. And for me, a puzzle game is something that makes the player feel smart. That's the fantasy that it provides, is you are a really intelligent detective, or just good at puzzles. You're a smart person. You can solve this problem. You can overcome. One of the ways that puzzle games do that is through deduction, giving you enough clues that you can put the pieces together, even if it's designed in a way to make that easier than it would be normally. Like if you were a detective and someone's trying to obfuscate things, sometimes it's done through smart uses of the particulars of the way something works, such as language. It leverages the idiosyncrasies of language that you as a native speaker can use to solve problems. And really, it's setting up interesting ways for the the player, to solve problems. And so for me, when I'm thinking about my own game, what are the problems I want to solve, and how is that going to help the player feel smart? They have that fantasy, at least in my head. And then what does that communicate? What am I trying to communicate through this? And I haven't quite tied all that stuff into a bow and put them all together in a way that I feel happy with. And so I'm still trying to work that out along with everything else in the game. But the thing that I have figured out is, one, the deductive element of the questionnaires is such a good implementation of getting that initial fantasy idea out there, because there is no answer. You literally have to deduce the answer based on the components that you have. And I find this to be very powerful because there's a finite set of answers, and some of them you'll intuitively know. Even if you don't know all of them, you don't quite pick up everything, it's still a solvable problem. When you solve problems like that, you feel good, you feel smart, you get that nice little, I did it. You have difficult problems that you solve, the feeling of reward compared to the struggle is often equal. So having these puzzles, these quick questionnaires, and then these sliding puzzles, you should be hoping that they're familiar enough that people will intuitively either have an understanding of how to solve them, or be able to solve them without too much complication, but still giving them that sense of, I did this. Hey, this wasn't too hard and I solved it. One of the things with the sliding puzzles that you get is you get pattern recognition as you're putting those pieces together, much in the same way as the questionnaire, where you're getting kind of like recognition. We're like, oh yes, this word fits into this sentence structure here, or yes, this is the logical next word that should go in the sentence. And getting those things, like that sense of, I don't know what it's called, when you put something in its spot and you're satisfied because the thing has been put in its spot. There's a bit of that going on that I really want to make sure is emphasized when I start to do the polish. The struggle of those things, overcoming them, is something that I get. Part of the communication through this puzzle game and the story is the character Doug is overcoming this mental block, this memory block, and then discovering why he can't just speak about it to everybody, what is going on with that situation. He's overcoming that, and you are helping him by solving these deductive puzzles. And so that's kind of the communication. But I want to amp it up. I want to have maybe not deeper level of communication, but at least a more resounding communication with the player. And therein lies the friction I'm at right now, is how do I keep that communication, keep that frustration and solvability of a problem, while also having the story being told and getting it out in this first section. And that's really one of the harder parts, is I want to kind of get the feeling of that narrative, the idea of that narrative, and lay the groundwork for that narrative in this first section so that it's there. Obviously, so that's there, but so that you can kind of see the outline of the thing from the beginning. You can see the trajectory of where it's going. By being able to see the trajectory, should hopefully know, like, these are the things I'll have to do to lay out that kind of roadmap of what the game will be. So those are these things I've been thinking about, as well as unpacking the boxes. Is how do I do this? How do I make this game? What is this game? And how do I then get these elements, these ideas I have about what a puzzle game should be, what this narrative puzzle game should act as? How do I then make it do those things? Because I could just throw a bunch of puzzles in there. It could be this zany, you go around and you like do all these random puzzles because they're there, or like, oh, the world itself is a bunch of puzzles that need to be put together. But instead, I want it to be more, I want the truth of the world to be the truth of the world. If you're playing it, that truth is respected. There's a great quote, I think, from Brandon Sanderson about when writing fantasy. You know, it can be as silly, as zany, as weird as you want. You have to believe the magic. The magic has to be real. There's magic in your world. You, the author, have to believe it. Otherwise, the viewer, the reader, they will not believe the magic. And it seems true with art. It seems, I think, what's true here is if you're creating something and you, the creator, do not believe in the thing that you're creating, wholeheartedly in the truth that you're trying to tell, then it will come off as inauthentic, and your viewer, your gamer, whoever, they will see that inauthenticity, and it will come through in everything about your presentation. So, keeping that in mind, I'm trying to be authentic and true to what I want to do. That is almost impossible if you don't know what you're trying to be true to, because you don't know what you're doing. This is always the problem with beginning a project, doing something new. It's the problem with the new artist. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to tell that thing. They don't know how to stay focused on maintaining that kind of language throughout the totality of what they're doing, and they end up making things that you can see the potential, the ideas, the concept, but the execution just doesn't live up to that. And that's kind of where I'm at with this too. Is I'm so new to the programming side. I'm so new to the game making side, to all these other new mediums and aspects that I am having trouble keeping up with the ideas and concepts I originally had. That's just a ramble from me and what I got going on. Yeah, that's me. Thank y'all for coming. Thanks y'all for checking out, listening to me vomit about my puzzle game. Come back next week. I'll keep you up to date on how's it's going. And Sunday, Lorelei and Laser Eye. It's super awesome. I should stop saying Bye!